everybody and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how I make my super ultimate healthy chop recipe for my birds. I'm doing this at night, as you guys can see. The birds are currently sleeping because I can't really get anything done when they're awake, but we are downstairs in the kitchen so I don't have to worry about waking them up. But I have all the ingredients back here and I will be putting right here just a list of the ingredients and what you'll need and the portions of everything so you guys can take a look. Pause it if you need to just see if you guys got everything. Feel free to add on any other things that you guys want to add, and just make sure to exclude all of the toxic foods, which as well I'll be listing here the things that you absolutely should not put into the chop recipe, but everything else is completely just up to you. This is just the chop recipe that even Luca fell in love with, and you know, he was on an all-seed diet, not really eating that healthy, and this recipe just changed him over to eating healthy, so it's really great. Our hair up and let's get cooking. So the first thing that we are going to be doing is cooking our quinoa and barley. I use any quinoa that is raw, not pre-cooked. Make sure that it is organic. And for barley as well, same thing, just make sure it is not cooked, it's just raw barley. We're going to be cooking through this. And the reason I add these things in is because I do find that they help absorb that extra moisture, so that when we're making this, because we're making this for our month period in the freezer, that we're freezing the rest of it, when you defrost it, a lot of people complain that they're having issues, that the food ends up too wet and mushy, and particularly for birds who are more from drier climates like Australia and Africa, they're not really going to prefer this texture of food. So adding in the barley and quinoa actually helps absorb all that moisture, so when you do defrost it, there is none of that mushiness or wetness, so it is perfect for all types of birds and prevents that issue. As well, grains are just a great source of nutrients for your birds, and it is a part of their natural diet. So we're going to be adding in 1 part grain to part water. So first we're going to add in a cup of quinoa and a cup of barley. Now we're just going to take a moment to rinse this, and then I'll bring it right back. So as you guys can see, we have rinsed it, so it is a little bit moist. Because we added 1 part barley, 1 part quinoa, we are going to add in 4 cups of water. And we're gonna put it on the brown rice setting. Boop. So I like to cook my quinoa and barley first because it is what takes the longest, about 40 minutes to an hour to cook it. As well, make sure that you are using a Teflon-free rice cooker or anything else if you decide to cook it stovetop. Make sure it is Teflon-free. I will be leaving a link down below to the rice cooker that I use, that it is completely Teflon-free. And also make sure not to add any spices, no salt, just plain quinoa and barley, nothing special added. So while that cooks, we're gonna move on to preparing our vegetables and chopping them up. Guys will find it a lot easier if you guys get a food processor or food chopper. I'm using one by Cuisinart. This one's just bigger and holds more volume for my birds. I do have a smaller version for when I used to have just 1 or 2 of them. If you guys prefer to chop it up by hand, that is completely fine too. I just find this is so time saver, and it also allows you to chop it up into finer pieces, especially for smaller and medium birds or birds who just prefer smaller piece chop. You will need a very large bowl to be putting all your chop in because this is for about a month. First thing we're gonna need is a zucchini. So I do like to chop it off into either halves or 4 pieces just to make it easier for the food processor to process, and just throw out your 2 end pieces. For zucchini, we're going to chop up our pepper as well. So I get yellow pepper personally just because mine are very picky and will only eat yellow pepper, but this is with preference. And the great thing about pepper is that you can actually chop it up with the seeds. Yes, the seeds are safe for them to eat and very enjoyable. As usual, just throw out the core along with the stem. Next, we're gonna cut up broccoli, cauliflower, and carrots. I like to get a vegetable mix. Next, let's cut up 6 radishes. As usual, I cut them in halves and I throw out the ends. Next, we're gonna add in about 2 cups of Brussels sprouts. You can choose to add these in raw or cooked. Birds are able to process raw Brussels sprouts, but I personally just prefer to give them cooked. They just seem to have a preference towards it, so we're gonna dump this in as well. Next, we're going to be adding in all our herbs and leaf leafy greens. So here I have parsley and mint. We're going to be chopping this up, putting it into the food chop. Next, we're going to add in some spinach, arugula, and you guys can also add in spring mix if you want to. I usually do, but this time I actually found this mix and I know that they preferred this a lot more. So and last but not least, I really like to add in this salad mix. This salad mix just contains a lot of kale, some broccoli sticks, some Brussels sprouts dried. So that is all the vegetables mixed in together, and now we are just waiting for the quinoa and barley to finish cooking and finish mixing that in. Now there are 3 little add-ons that I do want to talk about, which I add in when I'm actually serving it and taking out the portion. You guys can see how I do that in my daily routine with my 3 parrots. The first one is flax seeds. I add in about half a tablespoon of these into their chopped mix every single morning. It also gives them a nice nutty flavor, which helps for them to be more intrigued by the taste if they're not huge into vegetables. This is also packed with omega-3 and omega-6, which are essential things that they do need. The other one is hemp hearts. I add in a tablespoon of these. I add the most out of these just because of its benefit. And the last one is half a tablespoon of chia seeds, which is as well comes packed with a lot of great benefits for them. And I just mix these in the morning with their chop. I don't mix it into the giant bowl that I have behind me. It's just like a kind of like fresh afterwards thing because I don't want them spoiling within the vegetable. Okay, now that we're done mixing the quinoa, barley, and all the vegetables, it is time to put it into containers and put it into the freezer. So I'm going to be showing you guys the best way to pack it. That way you guys can unfreeze it easily and use it within portions before it actually goes bad in the fridge. So I recommend using containers that are small, about this size, or also Ziploc bags work, but I personally prefer the small containers. And you can leave one in the fridge right now for just a few days that you're going to be giving them, because unless your bird's going to eat all of that, which I highly doubt it, then my birds typically only eat about 3 tablespoons, 1 tablespoon for each every single morning. And then you're just going to fill up the rest of the containers and plop them into the freezer, and they should be good in the freezer for about a month. And then whenever you need to use it, just unfreeze it or leave it overnight to thaw out by itself, and then you guys are good. Okay, so we have packed away everything. As you guys can see, we did not have enough tiny containers, so we did use Ziploc bags, which is totally fine as well. I definitely do recommend, if you guys have the choice, to allow it to just thaw out overnight instead of microwaving it to defrost it, because by doing that you're also promoting bacterial growth and you want your vegetables to last as long as possible. So just to give you an idea of how time consuming this is, we started doing this around 10 p.m. and it is now 12:30 a.m. so it takes a while to do this prep work, so make sure you do it with good timing and know that it's going to be a good portion of your day as well. So I hope that was able to explain to you guys a good amount of what I give my birds, how to prepare it, and it also gives you guys a good idea of what to do for your birds as well. If you're having trouble converting your birds over into eating vegetables, then check out our video on how to introduce them into vegetables and get them to eat vegetables. And as well, if you're having trouble with getting them to eat pellets, then we also have a video on how we used our vegetable chop to get Luca to actually start eating pellets and switching over from seeds to pellets and a healthier diet. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe if you want to see more of us, check out our social media links down below. The recipe will be posted in the description as well on our Instagram stories, and we will see you guys next time. Bye bye.